All right, click the links for Odysee, BitChute, or to join the Discord. All right, so talk about red flags on a set. If you're on the set and the director explains that this is the armorer, the prop master in charge of handling the squibs and the blanks and the set design for this hardware, you may have some concerns. You know, the hairs on the back of your neck might start raising a little bit, 24-year-old female. And then a quick scroll through her social media tells you a little bit more. And that's when you take the director aside and say, "What are you doing?" And the director explains, "Oh, I'm banging her. That's why she's the armor on set, because I'm banging her." Oh, well, that doesn't seem very safe. I mean, the hardware involved is very, very dangerous. Can't you have her do, like, script revisions or helping with the acting or put her on lighting or sound or camera work? Anything other than dealing with the hardware that is actually like the most dangerous thing on the set. I mean, she's a 24-year-old chick, who, you know, is probably only on set because somebody is banging her. Maybe that should raise some red flags. But, you know, in the real world, and Hollywood is like ultra real world, things are just done differently. I mean, it's not like, it's just not a perfect world. Things are done differently. People do bang people for positions. That's fine, but it's usually not positions where they're handling the hardware involved in a Western. That should be a big no-no. So did Trump set up Alec Baldwin? Are the Clintons involved? How do you say cucumbers? ¿Cómo se dice cucumbers? This is how I did it in Spain. Someone explained that Baldwin's Spanish, in quotes, wife is exotic without being too exotic. And I'm going to go out on the assumption that it is a sexual kink, because it does sound kind of cutesy when she does that. And since everyone in Hollywood is absolutely insane, it works out well. And actually, in defense of her accent, some people are natural mimics. It's probably a part of language evolution for people to pick up dialects pretty quickly. So I can kind of see some explanation for it. And I mean, I'm going to assume she's probably insane, but it could be organic. And really, the thing is, does it matter? At this point, it's all deck chairs on the Titanic. What some nutty Hollywood type is up to does not really matter. Okay, so there's a lot going on with this low-budget film where Baldwin is a producer. But I can point to one of the problems. The hardware prop master, armor, is a 24-year-old woman. That is a self-deletion wish right there. The age, 24 is really young, but mostly the woman thing. It's not a red flag. It's a walk off the set flag. A woman will get you deleted. You have to have men in jobs that matter because men are held accountable. Women just aren't. Men go to prison. Women skate. And people know that. What happens with a 24-year-old blonde armor is someone is banging her. There is no other explanation. The director was 100% guaranteed chowing her box. And he paid the price. No vagina is worth getting shot over. You hire women on sets to do the catering or to help with the acting or something, not in any position that matters. Women are not held to the same standards as men. You want some obsessive guy, some bearded dude who lives and breathes hardware, preferably fat and ugly. Hardware should be his life. A 24-year-old girl is looking for a guy on set to get her pregnant. She doesn't care about hardware. I gotta use some euphemisms for YouTube. It's just something cool for her to do until she gets married so she can post pictures like this on her Instagram with little hashtags like women in film or girls can do it too. It's like, no, they can't. Because women are not men. Stop with this Pollyanna, politically correct SJW BS. A man in this role will obsess over it. Men are obsessive in a way that women just aren't. A woman is just listening to her biological clock tick and wondering who she's going to bang. Some jobs require men because they absolutely know that they will be screwed if something goes wrong. This whole production has red flags on it, but making movies isn't some big Hollywood cliche. That's only for the big Hollywood films. For stuff like this, you may be better off just camping in tents during the week and going into a hotel on Friday for a shower. Because on this set, they had to drive 50 miles to a hotel every night and every morning, or maybe they probably had a bus take them in and out, but... Or no, wait, actually it sounded like they had to drive themselves. Usually you have like an 18-passenger van or something, but that 50 miles every day to a hotel, that's just because, I mean, they're not working. They're working very, very long days. Just set up camps. That's way too long to drive twice a day. Camping would have been safer. You bring in water, you dig latrines, and you're set. It just, makes things a lot easier. If things get weirder, there were prior negligent discharges to this fatality that took the photography director. It's not just the armor. It might not be the armor's fault necessarily. A set has like a command presence. If the director is sloppy, then, and I'm sure he was banging this chick, then he sets the tone. And this is the real world. If a big actor like Baldwin, I mean, it's relative. He's big for this low budget movie, and he's a producer. If he's behaving dangerously, what are you really going to do about it? You can't fire him, and you can't taser his balls to teach him a lesson. You're screwed. That's the real world. It's like, you're just screwed. Baldwin is a guy with a history of violence, and he's a producer. In this situation, you're up against the wall. You pretty much just cross your fingers and pray. That's the reality of it. You also should be checking the hardware constantly, because like I said yesterday, there are blanks which have powder and primer, but they're not loaded with the lead, and there are bullets in casings but without the powder and hopefully without the primer, except sometimes people forget to remove the primer. Even then, it's still a case of when you're handed a revolver, check the cylinder and clear the barrel of obstructions that can easily turn into a projectile. But it's like getting people to do that. Again, that comes kind of from the command structure from the director. And the thing is, if the armor is a 24-year-old girl, she just doesn't have the presence to do anything. She's just completely useless. And finally, you just never point the muzzle at a human being. That's rule number one. And I don't know how to explain this concept. Some people get that idea, and other people just don't. There's a segment of the population that doesn't like to be corrected, even when it's something that's very, very important. They have something called ODD. It's oppositional defiance disorder. If you tell them something, there's a part of their brain that just clicks, and they want to do the opposite just to oppose sort of the adult who's telling the child to do something. The thing is, adults recognize when, like, what reasonable commands are. Like, very few people like to be told what to do, but if someone is telling you something that is important for your safety and their safety, and it comes across as a command because they have knowledge of something you don't, it's like reasonable adults just accept that, where people with ODD don't. And it's something that happens in adults who are stuck in childhood behavior. And ultimately, it comes down to Baldwin pointed the muzzle at two people. That's something you never do. And here's a confusion about people don't understand the movie set thing. You don't do that on a movie set, not anymore. Maybe they used to do that, but after enough accidents, they use a little bit of film trickery to maintain that rule of do not point the muzzle at a human being. You might aim at a camera, but you don't aim at the camera person or the human, because usually the camera person is not behind the camera when you're filming these scenes. It doesn't matter or even when they're filming two people having duels, they have them offset. So you're filming it from the side where you can't tell that they're actually offset a little bit. It just reduces the risk of harm. So it doesn't matter what Baldwin's state of mind was in regard to the state of the hardware and what was in the cylinder. You just never pointed at a person. He did. But for that act, they would not have suffered the harm they did. Baldwin can blame everyone else, but he committed the last act. He was the approximate and actual causation of the injury. He aimed the muzzle at two human beings. People think a prop gun is fake, or the bullets or the cartridges are fake. If the set is sloppy, then there are real guns and live ammo on set, because they're doing the they're making the cartridges look the way they want them to look on set, but all the ingredients are on set. The ingredients would be a primer in the back of the casing, the powder, the blanks, which are like crimped cartridges and maybe wadding or something, and then the bullet itself, the actual lead piece, because you need that when you're filming a front shot. So it's like there's a lot, all the ingredients to make a fully working firearm are present on a set. So you need to be very, very careful, and you got to have like that command structure. And like a 24-year-old pretty blonde girl who comes across as a total thought does not have that command structure, especially if she's only on set because she's cute and people are banging her. So my point is just like everything on set is real. It's all there. But blanks can still carry a charge, even if it's a half a charge. And if there's something in the barrel, that's all it takes. It's like maybe the bullet is supposed to go, 1,100 feet per second. But if it exits the barrel at 600 feet per second, well, it's still fatal. So now you combine, because they want, they got to have flash and a little bit of kick. They haven't worked out. Like with an automatic, you can have like a CO2 powered automatic, or even nowadays probably a lithium powered to work the slide. Revolvers are a little bit trickier. But the thing is, with CGI, it's like you could make safe revolvers with like, you could do something with CGI. Or you could just have safe practices. But it's like in the real world, it's like Hollywood. The real world is very sloppy. It's not the theoretical world of like film school. You're dealing with real egos, where you just can't fire the producer because he's the producer. He'd be the one firing you. So now you combine this with Alec Baldwin and his anger issues, a 24-year-old armorer, and a director who is almost certainly banging her. Someone's banging her. People are banging each other, and you're asking for an accident. No 24-year-old woman should be an armorer. No woman, period, should be an armorer for the reasons I explained. Not to be offensive or sexist or anything. I mean, it's not really sexist. It just is what it is. And it's like, even if you're, I know there's no feminists listening to this or any women listening to this, but you know it. I mean, you know it. Like if you're some feminist and you're on a set and you see this chick handling the hardware, you're gonna crap your panties. As opposed to if you see this dude handling the hardware, her father, who's a famous guy in Hollywood, you'd be like, oh, okay, he's been in the game, some decades. He looks like he knows what he's doing. He doesn't have any bullet holes in him. As opposed to a 24-year-old thought, it's like, I'm gonna find another movie to be a part of because I don't want to die. Anyway, like, comment, subscribe. I'll see you guys on the next episode.